The Devil and the Pathology of History Part 3. The presence of evil in the cosmos is a fact that must be dealt with in order to make sense of the experience of life. One method of explanation is to ascribe the responsibility for evil to a single, malevolent being, the devil. This point of view adequately accounts for the active character of iniquity, and affirms its apparent cosmic influence. However, the figure of Satan as progenitor of sin poses logical and ethical contradictions within a monotheistic religious system that denies the ambivalence of the Creator God. Denial of the paradoxical nature of divinity is a serious matter, because it reflects a synonymous tendency to deny the irrational part of the human psyche. This results in a pathological state of disassociation from one's own being, a self-destructive process in which the mind loses touch with its own roots. All undesirable qualities, evils, are thought to come from outside the self, outside the community, from enemies such as pagans, Jews, witches, servants of the devil. In the present age, scientific rationalism is both God and devil. With the advent of post-Renaissance materialism, the living presence of religion was suddenly undermined. Belief in the devil, evil spirits, and eventually God himself was seen as superstitious, having no place in the Age of Enlightenment. The witch craze abruptly ended. It seemed that Occidental society was finally on the mend. However, this was merely a surface appearance, for the problem which manifested itself in the witch hunts was far from resolved. In fact, the problem of evil was repressed even further. The new, rationalistic worldview brought with it an indispensable asset to the human race, the scientific method. However, it could not possibly hope to answer fundamental questions such as the problem of evil, which were by definition metaphysical and beyond the scope of scientific inquiry. The great fallacious conceit of science was its intrusion into the realm of the irrational, where it simply had no relevance. This, of course, was patently ridiculous. Yet the traditional model of the universe could no longer withstand the onslaughts of rational materialism, and so was destroyed. The problem of evil was not solved, it was merely explained away. The only method known to the West for dealing with existential questions was abandoned. God and devil were dead. This grand-scale repression of basic human qualities led to even greater insanity than during the previous age. Despite a marked increase in the quality of life in Western society, this life was largely devoid of meaning. Vain attempts to return to previous worldviews ensued. Many new religions and subcultures surfaced, offering illusory escape from the pressures of modernity. The most extreme evasion of the problem was 20th-century Satanism, which resurrected the romantic conception of Lucifer, who, in his own inimical style, represented the principle of individuality in the face of oppression. The obvious contradiction inherent in a devil as a principle of good was a sure sign of confusion. And, even as the Satanists pilloried Christ, they belied their own professed independence by operating within the structure of dogmatic Christian belief. Most prevalent of the religion substitutes were political ideologies of every variety. They ranged from Marxism to Nazism, from consumerism to the hippie counterculture. None of them could supply true spiritual sustenance and a world bereft of meaning, but merely supplied a kind of placebo. Even the traditional religions of the West, drained of vigor, became little more than political bodies. Prime examples included Islamic terrorist groups in the Middle East and militant Christian fundamentalists and right-to-lifers in the United States. It seems that the human race has reached a nodal point in its development. The traditional view of the world is no longer remotely viable. The new rationalism is irresponsible and blind, especially regarding the environment and the conflicts of war. No acceptable alternatives can be found which provide what was once freely given by God, assurance of meaning and order in the universe. To obtain real freedom and security, the society must finally come to grips with its own problems, its own antithetical impulses once embodied in the devil. Only by realizing that evil comes from within the individual, within the state, can an end to suffering be achieved. The imperceptible slowness of this process makes it nearly impossible to verify, but I believe that the human race is indeed engaged in it. The recent collapse of Leninism and the gradual expansion of civil liberties in the Eastern Bloc is a sign of greater self-awareness on a global scale. It amounts to an admission of the desire for unity. This is the only goal worthy of pursuit, conscious unity with all things and all beings, even the devil.